Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about a super hot topic. It's something that is widely misunderstood. It causes huge amounts of anxiety for parents. It's a big part of mainstream sleep training culture. It's often perceived as the cause of multiple night wakes, difficulty settling, early rising and fussing. You won't find a single research article on it, and yet it's widely taken as fact. And it's something that I work hard to myth bust almost weekly. Have you guessed it yet? It's the concept of overtiredness. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what people mean by overtiredness, why being really tired isn't the cause of settling and sleep problems, how we should be reframing fatigue, and the likely real reason little ones don't settle. Make sure you stick around until the end because in this video, I'll be explaining why overtiredness is overrated and how to approach sleep in a more effective way. And if you're excited to hear this, then don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That way you'll be notified when we release a new video every single week. In case this is the first time you've landed on our channel, I'm Dr. Lyndsey Hookway, a paediatric nurse, health visitor, responsive sleep and parenting advocate, author and researcher. I'm also the clinical director of the Holistic Sleep Coaching Programme, which has so far supported over 500 sleep coaches worldwide, transforming the lives of thousands of families who want and need this type of skilled and specialised responsive sleep support. One of the things our coaches get asked about a lot is the thorny topic of overtiredness. We dive into this concept in a way that enables our coaches to address this head on and clear up a lot of confusion for families. One of our coaches who found that a deep understanding of how overblown overtiredness is was Cher. She's been able to use the knowledge I'll be sharing today in this video to support numerous families who were fixated on overtiredness. By supporting parents to understand how their child really falls asleep and what makes sleep harder, her clients have not only lost their anxiety over strict timings and the fear of overtiredness, but sleep is smoother and they feel more confident. Cher now publicly challenges the mainstream trend of blaming multiple tired signs on overtiredness, and as a result is able to help more families get meaningful results, which is awesome. Right, let's get into it. First of all, let's consider what people mean on the face of it when they talk about being overtired. On a really simple level, this could just mean someone who is really tired. And using that simple definition, it's pretty indisputable that this is a thing. We've all seen children who are so tired that they're falling apart. They're losing it. They burst into tears. They really aren't enjoying life, and they can be pretty difficult to share life with as well. In fact, it's not just children who can feel like this, is it? I'd be willing to bet that most adults have, at least one time in their life, felt like this too. I know that if I don't sleep well, or if something randomly wakes me up in the night and deprives me of sleep, not only can I feel fuzzy-headed and subjectively tired, but I also feel more irritable, pessimistic and short-fused. If you want to call this state overtiredness, I guess there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that. Maybe it's just a word that tries to convey a state of fatigue that isn't completely described by the word tired. We mean super tired, ridiculously tired, urgently in need of a better night's sleep tired, or something. But the problem is that people often apply some mixed aspects of sleep biology to this state and end up confusing the issue. They begin to blame this state of excessive fatigue on various sleep patterns, and that's where it gets problematic. Let's start by looking at what excessive fatigue does do. I need to caveat this by saying that this has not been studied in children at all. That's due to ethics. As you might imagine, it's not ethical to test the effect of sleep deprivation on children who cannot give informed consent. The only research we have related to sleep deprivation in children is not experimental, so it's much harder to unpick correlation from causation because the factors surrounding sleep were not controlled for. We know that children with underlying sleep pathology, for example, tend to perform more poorly on cognitive tests, but we don't have sleep data from those nights of deprivation because that would have required advanced knowledge of the sleep problem before it even occurred. So we can only defer to adult studies where the subjects have their sleep manipulated in a controlled way, enabling researchers to study the effect of sleep deprivation on sleep stages and patterns. In those adult studies, such as one by Elmenhorst and colleagues in 2008, sleep deprivation causes a few specific changes to sleep architecture. First, it reduces the time taken to fall asleep. In the real world, that might play out as a child crashing out, falling asleep much faster than usual. Second, it reduces the amount of light sleep. The brain prioritizes deep sleep and shortens or eliminates light non-REM. Third, as well as increasing deep sleep, it increases the amount of REM sleep. In children, it's possible that this might lead to a child who's more easily rousable if they're disturbed by vivid dreams, for example. Fourth, the effects of sleep deprivation accumulate, but sleep patterns quickly return to baseline after 1 or 2 nights of recovery sleep. So, sleep deprivation definitely does alter sleep architecture in adult studies, but in the mainstream child sleep world, sleep deprivation or excessive fatigue is blamed for many other things as well. So what's going on? Let's start with the often claimed idea that overtiredness leads to a child not being able to fall asleep. When little ones get really tired, do they sometimes struggle to fall asleep? Well, anecdotally, yes. But why? I'll give you a clue. It's not the fatigue. Let's get to the key point. Overtiredness or excessive fatigue does not prevent people from falling asleep. But if excessive fatigue does not prevent people from falling asleep, why do so many people report this as a problem? Well, 2 reasons. First of all, it's dysregulation, not fatigue, that makes sleep harder. Sleep occurs in the parasympathetic nervous system state. This is your rest and digest state. You have to be calm and relaxed in order to fall asleep. If a child is rattled or upset in any way, for any reason, sleep will be harder. Is the penny beginning to drop? You might have realised that fatigue affects people in different ways. Some people can tolerate higher levels of sleep pressure and fatigue before they begin to fall apart. So the children who need more sleep or are perhaps more fatigued, or for whom there are other things stressing them out, or are naturally more sensitive, may have a harder time getting calm when they're excessively tired. The common story of a child who has missed their nap or woke up early or is late for bed and is now falling apart and too strung out to fall asleep will often be blamed on overtiredness. But you see, it isn't the fatigue that prevents sleep, it's the dysregulation. As I'm always saying, you can't sleep with your foot on the gas pedal. Second of all, there's a natural period of alertness before sleep time called the wake maintenance zone. This is normal, and it's usually associated in children with a period of playfulness, excess energy, or heightened activity. Basically, some kids get the zoomies. But this has nothing to do with fatigue. It's just that when people erroneously use the overtiredness narrative alongside an inappropriately early bedtime, it's like they add 2 and 2 together and get 5. Unpacking this requires an understanding of age-appropriate bedtimes, circadian rhythms, and the interplay between the circadian rhythm and homeostatic sleep pressure. Is this gelling or jarring with what you've heard about or learned before? I know when I first began to really challenge and learn about the concept of overtiredness, there was some uncomfortable unlearning and reframing I had to do. Can you relate? Let me know in the comments whether this is unlocking a different way of thinking for you. So what does excessive fatigue do then? Well, going back to homeostatic sleep pressure, this is the build-up of a neurotransmitter called adenosine. Adenosine is the byproduct of metabolism. Your metabolic rate is higher in the daytime while you're awake. Essentially, while your body is awake and busy with all its functions, it produces adenosine. Your metabolic rate is affected by how active you are, your size, what you've eaten. For example, your metabolic rate increases when you eat protein to a greater extent than if you eat carbs and fat. So there are all sorts of factors that might influence how quickly adenosine builds up. Some research by Wheeler and colleagues in 2022 suggests that increased cognitive demands, or more learning, increases cognitive fatigue. So perhaps when little ones are learning or developing new skills, they may appear more tired on some days than others, or have a phase of needing more sleep because of that increase in adenosine due to their raised metabolic rate. On the other hand, lots of learning and development can be unsettling, so we need to think about our old friend dysregulation here. Hopefully you're beginning to get the idea that there are lots of related factors, nuance and complexity with fatigue and regulation. But in general, the higher the level of adenosine, the higher the drive to fall asleep. So excessive fatigue does not prevent infants and children from falling asleep. In fact, it makes little ones need more sleep, appear sleepier, and fall asleep faster. I can almost hear you asking about waking at night though. Some parents anecdotally find that if their child is really tired, they wake up more often. Now, I'd be the last person to disregard a parent's lived experience here, but it's likely that if this pattern occurs, it's related to dysregulation, not high sleep pressure. When dysregulated, children need their parents more and may be more unsettled. You know yourself that if you've had a cranky day or go to bed after something stressful has happened, this can affect the quality of your sleep. Understanding the complex sleep biology here is important because without this, it's easy to fall into mainstream sleep training advice, which is often to try an earlier bedtime or prolong the naps. But not only can this be really difficult to achieve, especially for lower sleep need children, but it can directly sabotage sleep. If you try to put a child to bed during their wake maintenance zone, they will find it extremely difficult to fall asleep. That's when the mainstream sleep narrative will tell everyone that this is due to overtiredness and that the solution is an even earlier bedtime, which will obviously make the situation worse. There's only so much sleep you can achieve, and sleep deprivation interacts with your circadian rhythm as well. In a study by Reichardt and colleagues in 2017, they explored the effects of sleep deprivation and sleep timings on sleep efficiency, among many other variables. This study found that naps positioned too close to bedtime result in inefficient sleep, which means a really long and protracted bedtime. And that was irrespective of sleep deprivation because of the strength of the circadian signalling and the wake maintenance zone. So early bedtimes and longer naps are not necessarily the answer. Focusing on the calm and having a deep understanding of sleep biology is what will help finesse bedtimes, naps and nights, and that's how you level up your responsive sleep work with families. If you're a fan of relatable, practical and sustainable sleep support that is responsive and evidence-based, and of course, deeply rooted in that understanding of sleep biology, then you can book a call with a real human on our team to find out more about the Holistic Sleep Coaching Programme. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe before you go. Until next time.